If I'm doing a magic trick and I say, well, look what I've got over here, you're going to be like, I'm pretty sure I should look at something. We've actually read the sequel to this book already. And if I remember one thing about Jeneva Rose is that she's a cheater. She cheats at writing thrillers. In The Perfect Divorce, her main character, Sarah Morgan, was an unreliable narrator, missed out important events in her POV chapters, and ultimately it would have been impossible for us to predict the ending. Unfortunately for us, we already know how this one goes, since we ruined it for ourselves. But still, just because I already know Darth Vader is Luke's father, doesn't mean I still can't pretend to be shocked when I rewatch Empire Strikes Back. Ask any of the girls I've dated. There's one thing I'm good at, is faking it.
Okay, so, we read the sequel first.
Yeah.
What did you think of this book? And we liked the sequel, but what did you think of this book?
We like the sequel. I kind of wish...
Pause the video right now. Go and read The Perfect Marriage by
Jeneva Rose. And when you've read it, you can join us for the discussion.
Or you can join us anyway, because we're going to tell you all about it. My name is Elijah.
And I'm Joseph, and welcome to the Icha Library. I wish we read this one first.
I don't know, I'll tell you why after. But what did you think of the book? You think it was just ruined and you couldn't enjoy it properly because of...
I wouldn't say ruined. It was definitely spoiled, but I wouldn't say the experience was totally ruined for me.
What did I think of the book? I hear you ask.
I'm always getting to it as well. Just cut in.
I literally stopped.
With the finger as well. Like,
I see the improvements of the second book upon this first book. Is it worth reading? Yeah, I think it's worth reading. And that is all the spoiler-free opinion that you need.
Spoiler alert! We're going to the spoilers.
Yeah,
now.
let's go into the spoilers.
All right, let me go first. One of the reasons that I really wanted to read this is because of the premise. For me, a defense attorney defending her husband in court for the allegation of killing his mistress has got to be one of the best prompts I've ever heard. Like, if I'm a literary agent, I'm thinking this is actually going to make me rich.
Yeah, how do you unpack that?
Tell me more.
Yeah,
I need to know what happens. How good as a lawyer must you be if you can feel how somebody would feel in that situation, still defend him, and win? Imagine.
Yeah.
That is the ultimate devil's advocate.
If
you can do that, you can do it. If you could sell Bible to an atheist.
And actually, we have to give an extra point that the fact that Adam dies in the end. Well, I know we probably shouldn't speak about it straight away, but Adam dies. But we never get the unhappy ending in books. So at least it was not. And if I was reading it, I'd be thinking, no, surely he doesn't.
Yeah,
do you know what I'm saying?
It wasn't really an unhappy ending.
Yeah, but
I know
exactly.
what you mean.
Adam, our main character, is a writer. It's nice to see that our author has made it realistic with the sheer poetry of Adam's mental dialogue. The book reads, I truly tried to imagine what she looked like naked. When I finally did get her naked, in reality the sheer beauty of her body far surpassed the meager limitations of my imagination. Flowing. You're spitting bars at this point.
Of course.
Just showboating. And in fact, it's not Adam that's showing off, it's the author, Jeneva Rose.
Knickers off already.
And because Jeneva Rose wasn't done with the creativity, she said, let me cook. The author transitioned from Adam talking about his first sexual experience with his wife, or so we thought it was his wife. In fact, it was his side bitch. And I can already tell I'm going to be rooting for Adam. So yeah, we thought Adam was just finished having sex with his wife. He went into the bathroom to clean up. And the creative reveal from the author, babe, your wife's texting you. Is that not the best phrase that any man could ever hear from his side bitch? That means everything's patterned.
She's patterned.
The mistress knows you got whack. So Adam, like a real bad man, said to Kelly, just reply, tell her that I'm at work, tell her I love her. Ice cold.
Remember what he said? He was like, tell her I'm fucking a bitch in my dreams. That's what he said. I was like, hey, what? I'll show you. I screenshotted it. So I'm
she was like, all right, cool.
Yeah. Then he was like, I'm not actually up. But he's like, you're bad. She's not bad.
Yeah.
But when she's paying for your shit. Yeah.
So would you say that's ice cold in the sense that you're a despicable person for getting your side bitch to text your wife? Or is that just minor? Because if you can have sex with another woman, you sure as hell can get another woman to text your wife.
Hey, listen, let's not forget, we always see, women as these helpless little victims. But don't forget, didn't she kill, what's it called? Bill's brother?
Yeah,
she killed Bill's brother, changed her name. She has a whole past, there's no good people here.
Yeah.
So we have to remember that.
One thing I noticed in this book was that the author did not feel the need to indoctrinate readers. Adam was adamant that he loved his wife despite his cheating, and his admission that he loves his side bitch too, which was very unusual. Usually we receive the rhetoric that if you cheat, then it automatically means you do not love that person.
Yeah.
Do you think that it's possible to truly love two women? Because Adam said he loves both of them.
Well, this is implied in your question, but romantic love for two separate women.
Yeah.
It's a good question. I don't know. We struggle with defining love for one person, like two people. It's a whole different. I know it just doesn't seem like a major difference. What's the difference between 1 and 2, right? But it changes everything. Changes like all the rules, everything. Like you don't even like just the addition of one more person.
Yeah. Well, what do I think? I hear you ask. I would say this is the way I'd answer this question. I like chocolate cake and I like vanilla cake too. Mm-hmm. In fact, I love them both, and I can't decide.
Equally.
I can't decide which one I love more.
100%.
Some days I feel like chocolate. Some days I feel like vanilla. Some days I feel like both.
When I go to McDonald's, I don't always get the same burger. Sometimes I get a meal with the fries, the side, the shake, everything on the package.
So yeah. Yeah.
So what we saying? I
always
cheat.
No. I think cheating is wrong, but I think if people have polyamorous relationships and stuff. Like,
I was gonna say that because I used to watch a TV show where it was literally about a polyamorous relationship. It's obviously one man, 2 women. Well, the formula would have to. If it was the devil's three-way.
Look, we know what formula.
If it was the devil's three-way, then boy, that can't happen. That can't happen. Sword fighting is not for me. It's not for me.
So do you think most men would happily have a polyamorous relationship?
I think most men would definitely. The idea would appeal to them, but you have to remember, like,
double the
double women comes double the problems, double the argument,
well, maybe they
double the headache.
Argue, and you
see,
can
that's
just
what
say,
you think.
"Come on,
see, that's what you think." But you know what that is? That's male delusion leading us down the wrong path. You know it ain't gonna be like that. You know it's not. You know they're both gonna be picking on you.
Yeah,
you know,
and they're both gonna need. This one's gonna need money. That one's gonna need money.
That's not even that, because like men don't, unless you don't have money, men don't have a problem with giving money unless they genuinely do not have it. Yeah. But like that's what we really have an issue with, is like if you're gonna give me a headache for no reason after just coming for, or you're gonna find stuff to argue about, and it's 2 of you.
Well, that being said, I still would do it.
Yeah, sometimes mistakes have to be made.
Yeah.
A major problem this book has is the double POVs. It should very clearly be a story told from Adam's perspective. In my opinion, thrillers should not include the villain's point of view until right to the end when the twist is revealed. If we're living in Sarah's point of view and we're reading her thoughts, that means she's purposefully not thinking about cooking up a scheme with her lover to murder Adam's mistress and then frame him for the crime. And the only reason for her to omit this from her thoughts, to not ruin the surprise. Yeah. For us, the audience, which of course means that Sarah is breaking the fourth wall. I personally would have started this book off with Adam waking up next to Kelly's body, then the author could kind of toy with the idea that Adam killed Kelly and doesn't remember, like with the whole OJ thing. I don't know if you know about that, the OJ Simpson thing. And in the end, after it looks like Sarah has been fighting for Adam's freedom because she still loves him, then the author could drop the bomb. Sarah's been cheating and she's the one who set him up. Boom. So for me, like, you're telling me we've gone through like how many 50-odd chapters of Sarah's POV, or let's call it 30-odd chapters, and never once has she even thought about this scheme that she's been cooking up with her lover to like implicate her. It just doesn't make sense to me. Okay. It's like we're reading Voldemort's point of view and it's like we don't know that he's Voldemort. How?
I know what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. But I guess the author's trying to prioritize the reveal.
No, I get that.
And having the POV and having everything above board, it actually makes the reveal even more jaw-dropping.
It makes it more jaw-dropping, because it doesn't make it more believable, in my opinion. I'll tell you why as well, because when people have these reveals, they want to look back and say, oh, there was this. They missed this, yeah, I missed that. There was this point into it. There was that point to it. There was this Easter egg. There was that Easter egg. Like, if it's just not there, and then at the end they say, you're going to be like, oh, well, I could never have guessed that. Like, why are you acting smart? You know, la-di-da, doesn't know anything until the very end sort of stuff.
No, I hear what you're saying. But I definitely think there is a place for mystery books that do have unreliable narrators. I don't think it's a massive deal. I think if the book is good enough and the story's good enough, then it's going to take you on. Having an unreliable narrator opens up a new avenue. Yeah. For you to not 100% not know what the fuck is going on. Yeah. So I understand you might think that's like a B-Tech mystery book because you want to see the Easter eggs, you want to be able to work it out. But I personally don't have a problem with it.
Fair enough.
And you're
Fair
wrong.
enough.
And I'm right. This book really takes your idiot. The way Sarah is moving all innocent, like she is the innocent victim who is righteously defending her husband in a court of law, despite the fact that her husband Adam was on trial for the murder of his mistress. And in fact, it was a double murder because the victim, who was his mistress, was 3 weeks pregnant. He's getting done for a double murder, but a woman can take an abortion if she so chooses. It feels like there's an inconsistency in the law. If the fetus is a victim in one case, then surely it should be a victim in both cases. If in one case a punishment is necessary for the destruction or murder of a fetus, then surely that should be in the case for both situations. What do you think, Joseph? Go on, cancel yourself. No, I'm joking. One thing I heard somebody say is the cure for cancer. Sorry, the one thing I heard somebody say is the cure for cancer is coming through somebody's womb. The cure for AIDS or any other technological breakthrough is coming through somebody's womb. So you don't know what you're killing. Your actions could have the ripple effect of billions of deaths, which is interesting. This is like an argument against abortion, if you didn't get that.
Yeah.
But yeah, had I not read the second book first, which was The Perfect Divorce, I probably would have found this book a bit slow and boring at times. While we waited for the trial date to come round, not much was happening apart from Adam getting drunk and feeling sorry for himself.
Yeah.
The second book was a big improvement on this in terms of action. Things actually happened, and in fact, I'm glad I read the second book first. Ask me why.
Why?
Because the books follow the same formula. You know, it's what Sarah's behind it. Once you know that, then you know it, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So we knew Sarah was the villain from the second book. So we know that. So basically, what I'm trying to say is, we know Sarah. Let's say we read the first book first. Once we read the second book, we know Sarah's behind it. So it's kind of taken away the shock factor. So.
Yeah.
Because the second book was better, I would rather go into that blind and experience the whole book. Do you get what I'm saying?
Which we did.
Which we did. Because
Yeah.
if we read the first one first, we would have got the shock factor of the first book, but then the second book would basically be ruined for us.
It would be, yeah.
Do you get what
wasted.
I'm saying?
I get that, but at the same time, I'm thinking, just the premise of that, I want to like experience that feeling of going through, like, I haven't already read the book, and I get what you're saying when you say the second one's better, but going through that, because the prompt and the premise of the first one
Is
for
better.
me was
The
just so much
premise
stronger.
the premise of it is better, but she didn't do it justice. I think she did
enough.
the second book more justice.
That's an
'Cause then the
interesting
first book-
predicament to be in, isn't it?
Yeah,
like,
yeah, because it was boring. When she had
Yeah.
Adam on house arrest and what he can't really do anything anyway, he's just stuck at home, you know.
staring at his computer screen and
yeah,
drinking
yeah.
in that lake house. Or
Yeah,
whatever.
so she didn't do the book justice in that regard.
Fair enough. That's a good point, actually. I still kind of stick on what I said, but I hear what you're saying, though. Authors working too hard to implicate Adam. During Adam's POV, he's always thinking murderous thoughts, and he spends a lot of time in the lake house drinking and staring at his computer screen. I feel like it's done to subtly suggest to the audience that he could have drank too much one night and murdered Kelly, or Jenna, rather, and not remembered. That part I thought was pretty well done, but the random bits where he just starts thinking about killing is all very heavy-handed misdirection. Although I suppose I could be speaking with the benefit of hindsight, since we already know what happens in the end. But I'm reading it and I'm thinking, this is why I made a comment about hindsight, because I feel like knowing he's not the murderer, I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh, this is heavy-handed misdirection, you know, because he's just thinking, what if I killed you when I was angry one day?
Yeah.
And it's just like, I'm not saying innocent people don't think these things, but it's like, you don't put that in unless you want to point to this character if you're writing,
But isn't that
literature.
similar to the unreliable narrator?
Yeah, I mean, sort of,
but a little bit, because it's
it's
like the author's purposely trying to push
But
us to
it
believe
should
in
be. I believe in authors like pushing. I believe in authors directing our attention here. I believe in misdirection.
Yeah.
I believe in that as a tool for writers. But
unreliable narrator.
if I'm doing a magic trick and I say, well, look what I've got over here, you're gonna be like, I'm pretty sure I should look at something. Sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? If it's too heavy-handed, it just takes me right out of the experience.
Unless it's a double bluff.
If there's a double bluff, then amazing, brilliant. Like, you've actually pulled a wool over my eyes. If I'm wrong, like I said, I love to be proven wrong when doing this. The point of this is not for us to be proven right. And I actually would rather be entertained than proven right.
Yeah, of course.
So, brilliant. If it's a double bluff, triple bluff, triple bluff now with Freedom McFadden. Let's chill out. But double bluff, love it. But it wasn't a double bluff.
All right,
This was just a bluff.
I'm on my last one.
This is my last one. I just did my third one.
All right, cool. Yeah. Adam's mistress was found dead in his marital bed. Why does that make it seem so much worse? It's like, bruh, you took her into my bed. It's an extra level of disrespect.
No,
Are we under the impression that bringing somebody to your family home is supposed to sober you up? It's supposed to be that line that even the most morally questionable wouldn't cross.
Yep.
If you can cross that line, then maybe you're not just unfaithful. Maybe you're not just selfish. You're cruel. Is it a fairy tale we like to tell ourselves that cheaters are haunted by guilt? That they must hide the evidence and shield themselves from the reminders of their own deception? The classic trope of turning down the family photo face down before committing the act? But could one argue that spending money on a hotel that could cost hundreds of dollars of family money is much more traitorous and treacherous than using a bed for what it's for?
I understand what you're saying. I 100% get it, but I do disagree with every single thing that you said. And I'll tell you why.
So you wouldn't put the family photo down?
No, I didn't say that.
Oh, so you would?
Who knows? But
you cheat.
the reason why they say that, the reason why that's
sacred.
Yeah, it's supposed to be sacred, right? The marital bed is supposed to be sacred. Like, you were joined as one before God. This is our marital bed.
That's where you
like,
consummated it.
That's where we consummated it, you know. This is like where I sleep with my wife, and it's like, so
you're
you're telling me like,
sheets, though.
No, but when I look at her side, I'm like, yeah, I'd raw dog that bitch right where you're sleeping. It's like, damn.
So you're supposed to feel bad for that?
Yeah, you're supposed to feel bad.
Why do you feel good for it?
Then something's wrong with
you're
you.
Screwed.
Something is wrong with you. Because like, I do believe in the sanctity of marriage. You know, call me old-fashioned, but I kind of do believe in that. And it's like, you always see this in religion as well. The man who sins loudly is always worse than the man who sins and is ashamed of it. Because at least you're ashamed. You know what you did is wrong. So, everyone's gonna sin. But if you know what you did is wrong, you
darling,
can be saved.
would you prefer me to use your credit card?
Obviously,
take her to a hotel?
obviously, that's not the kind of questions that you're going to be asking when people are plagued by their emotions. When they've just discovered they found you in bed with this other bitch, you can't be like lay out your reasons for why I cheated, where I cheated. But like, if you're, I understand why people feel like you should feel guilty, why it's accepted, why it's looked at as at least, you know, you feel shame for what you've done, sort of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't change what you did ultimately, so
it doesn't really make it worse, though, does it?
it makes it worse in people's minds, which is all that counts.
Yeah,
that's all that counts.
One of the things that the author kept drilling into our heads is that the victim, Kelly, her post-mortem showed that she had traces of Adam's semen in her mouth, vagina, and anus.
Damn.
And my reaction
All
to
three
that,
holes.
I had the feelings of a proud father. My man, see when you fuck up a girl, you have to empty the clip.
Fill her up like Sunday dinner.
But think about it, a man that's not in...
empty the clip.
Think about it, a man that's not in 3 times and his mistress is clearly not getting any at home.
Yeah.
So can you really blame him?
Well, this is a very interesting point that you brought up. I'm actually going to agree with you here because...
You co-signed this line of questioning. I thought you'd be like...
No, I know why you thought I'd be like that, because I'm like the safe for work brother. You're the not safe for work brother. But I'm going to agree with you here because...
3 times in the side bitch?
Yeah.
Once? Okay, you're
like,
getting at home.
As
3
a man,
times?
As a man, like, I know,
You can't go,
if you're busted 3 times, you cannot be getting...
And you're not going home to then have sex again. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like, a man who's going home and he knows there's a possibility for having sex, he's going to be like, let me chill out just so there's no
two
suspicion.
at a max. At a
He
max.
knows there's going to be no suspicion, which means he's not getting any when he goes home. But not only that, but it's also, you know, you've heard, you know, you change the gender in certain situations and obviously people react to it differently. So when, you know, a woman cheats on her husband because, oh, you're never home, you never give me any attention or whatever, you made me do this. They say all these sorts of things. And then when it's the man, you know, you're supposed to be steadfast, regardless of what's going on at home. Like, regardless, she's not your property. Regardless of what you get, I believe in a marriage. Like, if I'm not getting it from you, who am I meant to get it from?
Exactly.
That's what I believe in a marriage. So, and I believe that for man and woman. So, at the very least, like, I don't
You're
discriminate.
hitting quotas.
Listen, at the very least, I don't discriminate. I believe that for man and woman, you should have an obligation to satisfy your partner that you've married. Like, you've become one in the eyes of God. So if you don't satisfy them, who will?
Yeah. Lastly, if you was Adam, are you taking the plea deal? 20-year plea or take the risk of going to trial, but if you're convicted, there's a good chance you get the death penalty.
Wait, say it again. So
20-year plea or take the risk of a trial, but if you're convicted, there's a good chance you get the death penalty. This is a crime for a crime you did not commit. Murder. 20 years. 20 years is a long time.
That's for me, that should be my sentence. What the hell? Like, After 20 years, I'm like, you should let me out. What the hell?
that's
I've
what
done 20 years.
Yeah, that's what they're saying. 20 years, you're out.
No, but I'm saying I shouldn't have to plead to that. I should just get that if it's murder. Like, what are you telling me about death penalty? That's mad, bro. That's mad. I thought death penalty was supposed to be for like serial killers and shit.
Well, he's a double murder, which is really, I didn't like that addition to the story. Because it's a double murder because she's pregnant.
Oh, yeah, it does count as double homicide. Fair enough.
Well, it does in most states, and in England it doesn't, but in some states it does.
Okay,
I had to do some research.
Fair, yeah, I was about to say you sound like you've researched this.
I had to do some research.
There's no way you just knew that. But
Yeah, it depends about some states. It depends. Some states it doesn't matter how old the fetus is. In some states it has to be over a certain blah blah blah.
Bro, I'm gonna be real.
Man's thinking about it like his life depends on it. You know, you're taking it serious.
I can't lie. I'm going to trial.
Trial.
I can't lie. I'm going to trial.
I'm not doing 20 years for a crime I didn't do.
Yeah,
I'm not
that's
doing
what I'm saying.
that. Sorry.
That's what I'm saying.
But if you get
There's no
catch
chance.
and you get quit, you know he did 11 years.
I'm gonna be real.
Wait, he did 11 years before he got killed. So he's like, you're dead. Like if you just taken the 20 years, 9 years you're out. You're home and dry.
So, oh wait, yeah, okay.
Because when you're on death row, you don't get done straight away. You
Yeah,
normally do
you have to
10
wait.
years.
Yeah, you have to
Sometimes
wait.
even 15 years.
Yeah, I'm gonna be real. Nah, that's mad though. Imagine you're 15 years on death row after.
Yeah, because then you could have just
could have taken it.
You could have just been out in 5 years.
That's mad though. If I could skip that period on death row, if they could just do it instantly, then it would be a very easy decision for me. That's mad though. Knowing that, I feel like I'd have to do the 20-year plea then.
I
feel
ain't
like I
doing
have to do
20 years for a
plea.
crime I didn't do.
But you
Joseph.
might anyway. On death row.
Nah, I wouldn't.
What do you mean?
End it.
Fair enough. Fair
No, I
enough.
don't know if I would. But no, I'm not pleading guilty to a murder I didn't do. No.
That's true. Because even if you like after you get out, they're gonna be like, yeah, you said you did that shit, so
Yeah.
you're a murderer. So I'm now badding you up, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like I'm now harassing you.
You're not gonna have a nice time in prison, you know.
Yeah, and
Killing
you have a
and
nice time
stabbing
out of
and
prison
killing a
after
woman as
because
well.
people will know you're a murderer. Yeah, I'm gonna be. Yeah, pregnant woman. Oh yeah, pregnant woman. Yeah. Nah, I'd end it as well. If they say guilty, I say cool. Cool. Drinking bleach that night.
Oh gosh.
In a weird way, Sarah helped Adam achieve his dream. He finally wrote a successful book based on the entire trial, which is a nice way to look at the culmination of the story when everything is said and done. Ultimately, I thought there was a good message in this book, if you look closely. Sarah conspired to frame her husband, not just because he was cheating, but also because she didn't want him to take 50% of her assets and money in divorce proceedings when she was the primary breadwinner. I read a lot of reviews about this book where people claimed to be able to see where Sarah was coming from.
Wow.
Do you know what I mean?
Wow.
It's
The
crazy.
hypocrisy
The
is crazy.
hypocrisy is insane. But I read, the truth is, that's something that she contractually agreed to when she married him.
Yeah.
Spousal support, alimony, division of assets, this kind of thing isn't new. It's been happening for centuries.
Yeah.
We've all heard about Jeff Bezos' divorce settlement with his ex-wife Mackenzie, which included a 4% stake in Amazon, which was valued at $38 billion.
That immediately made her the richest woman in the world
Oh
just
my
by
God,
divorcing him.
ridiculous. And I think the 22nd richest person.
Can you imagine you're being incentivized to divorce your husband?
Yeah. You're
crazy.
literally being paid billions of dollars. And nobody has ever seen in their life before in one lump sum. But what's interesting as well is she did actually help him launch Amazon, but it's like when she did that, like she probably didn't have anything better to be doing.
All right,
do you know what I mean?
Let's keep on.
But, Tiger Woods,
I'm the not safe for work. brother.
Tiger Woods, same story. Paid his wife $100 million in a divorce settlement. I'm sure Adam was the one tackling the majority of household labor, etc. Isn't that what they always
Yeah,
say?
that's what they say.
You know, when you should have seen Adele when she had to pay her ex-husband. She was livid. And it's like men was like, this ain't, you guys are acting like this is new. We've been doing this.
Yeah, exactly.
We've been doing this. So there's an interesting message in there. And there's also a point of conversation. There's a debate to be had with people who have actually read this book, because all the people that I've read were like, well, you shouldn't murder people, but I kind of get where she was coming from. I'm like, you shouldn't cheat on your wife, but I get where Adam was coming from. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. All right, well, that's us done. What did you think of the book out of 5? Would you recommend it? Let's go with that.
yeah, I would. I would
recommend it?
I would recommend it. And I'd probably give it a 3 out of 5.
So you
which
didn't
is
find it boring?
Very generous.
Because I definitely did.
Arguably, I suppose.
The one thing
but
that keeps me going.
Hindsight, we've already know how it ends. You know?
Well, not just no.
I
I thought it was boring. If I hadn't read the second book first and I didn't know Sarah was behind it, I definitely would have found parts boring. But it's because I'm trying to work out how Sarah and what she did, which you couldn't really see her doing anything. It was just all behind the scenes. But yeah, so you give it a 3.
Yeah, which I think is very generous. I'm going to be real. I think it should be 2. I'll probably be generous and give it a 3.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure you gave the second book a 3, which was
superior in your opinion?
Definitely superior.
So that means if you was nodding, so if you would also give this book a 3, that means were you giving up the second one?
I already gave the second one. I gave the second one a 4, nearly a 5.
Did you actually give it a 4?
Yeah,
I don't remember you saying 4.
It was very, very good. Very good. But yeah, I'll just give this one a 3.
Do you think if you had read this, but this is what you're saying, if you'd read this one first, there's no way you would have given the second one a 4. If you'd read this first, if you'd read it in order. So that means this whole scale is fucked. And I've been saying that as well.
Wait.
If you read this one before,
I might have
zero shot.
No, because I would have known Sarah was behind it, and I wouldn't have got such a shock.
So you couldn't have. That means the shock factor didn't factor into your 4 out of 5.
No, I would have. No.
Should have said 5 out of 5.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I would have accounted for that, is what I'm saying. I would have counted the fact that I wouldn't have been as shocked for the second one, so I'd put more on to compensate for that.
So do you believe if you had read the first one first, the second one still would have been a 4 out of 5 in your estimation?
Yeah.
You really?
Yeah. I just think you don't rate the fourth. I think you just don't rate the second one as highly as you should because you were confused.
Maybe. I don't believe it's possible to like have read the first one first and still like not in the knowledge that Sarah fucked this guy up the degree that she did and like conspired with Bill to murder like a person, frame it. Like I don't believe that can have no effect on the final rating.
Didn't say it had no effect.
Well, if it was a 4 before and it's a 4 after, then it had no effect.
No, I'm saying that I took into account the fact that Sarah's behind it, so I would still give it a 4. I'm not going to take it off because I already know. I'm not going to mark down the second one because I already know that Sarah's behind it. That's what I'm saying.
So you added in points from the first book to the second book when you rated it. When you rated it 4 out of 5, you was like, because the first book, which we haven't read yet, revealed this, I'm gonna make this book. So it was not a 4 out of 5 book then.
It is.
You added in a surprise twist from the first one, though.
I'm saying if, because remember, we didn't read the first book first.
Yeah.
You're asking me if I did read the first book first. That means when it comes to the second book, I would know that Sarah's behind it. Yeah. So what you're saying is I would rate it less because there's less of a shock.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that if we had read the first one first, I would know that Sarah's behind it, and for that reason, I would put some on in terms of I wouldn't mark it down. So you put
someone from the first one to the second one?
Not from the first one. I don't put
from
someone.
Where?
I'm
from
saying
where
that
then?
I'm not going to mark it down because I know that Sarah's behind it. I'm still going to mark it.
No, I wouldn't say mark it down because you know Sarah's behind it. I'm saying take the book for what it is. And what it is a book with less shock factor. Therefore, it has to be less.
It's only less shock factor because I know Sarah's behind it.
Exactly.
If you read it by yourself, then the shock factor is going to be there.
And if you don't read it at all, then there's no shock factor. It's 0.
All right, let's say the quote of the day.
All right, go on.
Quote of the day. Desire is the enemy of happiness.
That might be the truest quote you've ever read on this, to be
it's nice and short for you. I know
chasing desire. Yeah.
Chasing desire.
Yeah, that's probably the only way I can improve it. Chasing desire.
But sometimes you like it conspicuous. Or inconspicuous, should I say. Sometimes you got to find it in the quote, you got to make sense. It speaks to you differently, it speaks to me differently.
And quotes are one of the things where they have to sound right as well. Yeah. Like it can't just be
I actually heard this quote and I changed it up. It actually was the enemy of happiness is desire.
Your one's better,
yeah. So I changed it to make it sound more quotey.
Yeah, exactly. See, more quotey. Even things like money is the root of all evil is much better than the love of money is the root of all evil. Yeah. Even though one is truer and one is more specific. But money is the root of all evil. It just bangs. Yeah, that's a pretty good one. Quote of the day. Believe in yourself because the rest of us are honestly quite worried.
Okay, your first slightly funny quote. Slightly.
I didn't laugh. I went.
Slightly funny. You're getting better, Cloud. Till next time, I guess.
Till next time.